Hi everyone, and here we are with another wonderful auction that I want to show you. I'm quite excited to show you some wonderful things today. When I was planning, this is from our upcoming auction, Echoes of Old Remembered Times, and we do remember those times. That's all anyone is doing these days, is reminiscing and thinking. So we decided to borrow that as a theme, and our dolls that we have from our childhoods and past childhoods are certainly those kind of memories. Instead of this time showing you categories and different things that are so important for you to learn in different categories, I decided, this is my nostalgia right now because I'm so missing having live auctions where we have your wonderful collectors all coming and you're looking at dolls and we're talking together. I decided what I will do with you is what I usually do at the cataloged auctions. I'm going to do a walkthrough of the auction. Not the entire auction, only selected items, and clearly because I'm like everyone else who loves dolls, I pick things that tend to be my favorites, and I know that there are over, I think there are 400 lots in the two-day auction, so there are definitely many that are not here that many of you would have liked to have seen. And by the way, in the future, I would like to tell all of you, whenever you see that we have an upcoming auction and you know I'm going to be doing videos, scroll through the catalog ahead of time and pop me an email, Florence@Theriault.com, and say, hey, when you're doing your videos, could you show this doll so-and-so and that doll so-and-so? And then I can, and I know people like it because you get to see not just the photograph in the catalog, but you get to see front and back and sides and all sorts of angles, and so I'm real happy to try to accommodate all of you and whatever you'd like. So let's just kind of look at these wonderful dolls. And we have this, I had a couple people call me and said, I love this auction. It has so much variety, and it does. It goes everything from early woodens to Buddy Lees, from stiff animals to very, very fine French furniture. Just a great variety. It makes it a lot of fun, and 2 days for you to spend with not having to watch Netflix. You could just watch the auction the whole day and have a great old time. We plan to do that. But right now, let's pretend that we're walking in to an auction room and seeing the dolls, and I'm talking to you about dolls that would be coming up in an auction, and see if that works for you. I think it might be interesting. Well, one of my favorites, perhaps my favorite in the auction, is this wonderful early wooden doll, this English wooden doll. There is so much I love about her, and not the least of which is her wonderful original condition. I'm going to turn her to the side so you can see her wonderful little profile, and just beautiful shape of the nose and then going down in the throat and the carved bosom. Original painted finish on her with the blush cheeks that are so desirable, and then she has her wonderful original body. Look at those little shoes. They're just slippers. They're just so grand. And she is coming from, has been in one collector's hands, other than the original family, since her beginning of her life back in the 1700s. And she has an extraordinary wardrobe, including the lovely gown she's wearing, with its little pocket. We've attached it to the outside so you can see it, and I'm going to show you one by one. I'm going to hold up all of her other additional gowns that she has, and this is where I wish we had music so you wouldn't have to hear my voice. You could just have beautiful classical music in the background while you're watching the costumes, the wonderful costumes. Each one of them, I think each one of them has a little pocket attached, the wonderful pockets, which are so great. There's one. Oh, here's a great hat, a wonderful bonnet. And by the way, there is a really nice early petticoat here, the quilted petticoat. If you're looking at it, you would see that all of the stitches on it are all little meticulous hand stitching, which is so wonderful. There's a wonderful little apron. Now another gown coming up. If you have the catalog, you'll see we showed separate photographs of each of the costumes, so you can see. And here is her little pocket attached. The pockets were worn under the skirts, and that's where they kept the keys to the manor and maybe a few coins or maybe a love letter, precious things that they wanted to always keep with them. And we have this wonderful dress. It's very stiffened. Very imaginative dresses. You wonder the wonderful home that the little girl lived in that had this dress, and how well preserved. This has, let me just show you a little bit of the undergarment. And look at this, it's all embroidery and silver threading on the gown. Absolutely wonderful. And this one has the matching pocket. And then we have one more. Oops, excuse me. That's a very lovely one as well. The blue you see sticking up here is the paper that we've kind of padded them to give them a little fullness. So, and she is housed in her early wooden box that she has been living in for how many years now? 300 years. So it's pretty nice. Not 300, 250 years. And that's just absolutely wonderful. We have another doll with a trousseau, another early doll, and this one not from England, but this one from the Grodner area of Germany, with her wonderful so-called carved tuck comb, painted yellow at the top of her head. And she is in an original trunk with, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional costumes, plus a beautiful little cape and a bonnet. And just everything about her is just so beautiful. These costumes are all just absolutely original. And I think what is so wonderful about them is to study not only the construction of the costume, but also the early fabrics that they were made. I think people have, this is just my favorite because I love mauve and lavender. And I'm always taken when I find something that has all the original costumes, how prevalent mauve was as a color in the costumes. So that's just a very, very special doll that is also in the auction, one of my favorites. Now, for those of you who don't want the whole wardrobe or who want to build the other, here's another little Grodner towel doll in the auction that I love. And here, I'll take her tag, is almost bigger than she is. And what's really nice about her is that she's so tiny, she could almost be like a little dollhouse doll, or you could get her a trunk and maybe you would be able to find early costumes and build her an entire trousseau. One of the things in the auction that we have some fabulous furniture in this auction, absolutely wonderful miniature furniture, early pieces, and it's scattered throughout the catalog, but I just brought a little sampling of it here that I would show you some of what I consider my favorite pieces. These are all like early to mid 1800s and very, very wonderful. The wonderful tilt-top table with, look at that marquetry design, it's absolutely extraordinary, with the mother of pearl in the middle, and then the various woods in very geometric patterns coming out from the side. Tilt-top table, folds down for use. And then, although I don't know how their houses were ever crowded because they were such big mansions, but when it was not in use, you could push it up and push it in a corner, and then you could, I guess, dance in the middle of the floor. A wonderful, wonderful early tilt-top table. This one is great. I guess this is for the game room, because look at the top of it. At first you thought it was just a very lovely rectangular table sitting under a window, but then you realize that this was the table for the game and had various pieces that would be stored inside in the two little drawers in the front. Wonderful piece. Marquetry is just perfect on this, even with the little decks of cards and the hearts and spades and diamonds and what's the other one? I don't know. All right. And then look at this piece. Now, someone wrote to me and said, I wanted to see a bit of this a little more, and so I brought it out so you could see, and I want you to see the roll top is closed. It has a little bone tip, and then the roll top can open to reveal all of the interior drawers, which are just absolutely wonderful. Beautiful. These early pieces of furniture, I really am convinced they were not, honestly, they were not made as doll furniture. I think almost across the board they were made as Matrice quality furniture, miniature samples that could be shown of what that company or that artisan could create in full size for people, and then became into the homes of families to be shown and displayed along with their dolls. But the craftsmanship and work and the quality of the woods on these early pieces is so extraordinary. So look at this fabulous example. Another tilt-top table with the wonderful mother of pearl inlay, the painting around the outside, the stenciled floral design, and then the floral design extends around the base as well. And again, you could have it as a display in a corner of the room, or you could use the table and tilt it back down, and there you'd have your tilt-top table. Wonderful. This is a great piece to display with your dolls. They really kind of give them focus to put like a fashion doll or a little baby right next to it. I love this table because you think it's a table. And what a great size to display with little mignonettes, beautiful little French mignonettes. And let me show you the top. And then the legs that have this wonderful they're metal legs with the gilt finish. And then look, here's a surprise. It opens up, and it's not a little doll's table. It is actually a little case for the lady's dressing table for her nails and things like that, with little mirror in the back and it's little hooks and all sorts of wonderful little toiletry tools. A great little piece. So you can use it for two different ways. And then lastly, I wanted to show you in the furniture, and remember, there's probably 50 pieces of wonderful furniture in this auction. I wanted to show you this set of miniature paintings because I think they can be overlooked, and I wanted to show you the backing of them first. There's backing, and then here is one, and here is one that has the original label of the original shop that framed these so many, many years ago in Vienna. And then here is the fourth. But the quality of the paintings on here is absolutely extraordinary. And please read the description about these in the catalog, and you will see that they're not only something that would be great display with your dolls or in a large doll, for a beautiful salon of a dollhouse would be wonderful, but they also are just absolutely outstanding miniature paintings in and of themselves. They're just a wonderful, wonderful selection. Let me show you one more. And I hope the camera's able to pick up the really depth of the oil painting on here. It's just beautifully done. And then last here in front of us, I wanted to show you this room. We have been selling the Hannah Butkus collection of dolls as theater, the Neapolitan dolls, and she also had a few other remaining things from her other collections, of which this room was one. And I just think it is so outstanding. I wanted to show you it has the frame on the front at first, and now I'm going to take it off so the camera can come into the inside and you can see clearly this. I know people like to buy a dollhouse and furnish their own dollhouse, and I agree with that unless you find a room box like this that is so totally original to its time. Stop shaking. And this one is. It's just the wonderful little pieces. This is just like hand-carved and hand-painted legs on the table. All the little accessories that are on there, everything is permanently attached, and it's just an absolutely magnificent, magnificent, imaginative piece from the early 1700s, an outstanding example of something. And someone wanted to know if it was finished all the way around, and yes, it has the old original finish on it. It has not been restored in any way, totally original, and you realize how rare that is to find today. It becomes harder and harder to find really good early dolls, especially those that have wonderful original or imaginative costumes, and we have a nice selection in this auction that I wanted to show you. First of all is our wonderful man in the Civil War costume of the Zuwab, they were commissioned, they were rented soldiers basically, and they would come in wearing these very, very particular costumes, very distinctive, with almost like the Turkish style legs. And this fellow was in the Civil War, and he has his U.S. buckle, he has a little faux gun, he has the tobacco pouch, and he has his wooden rifle, and when we turn him around, you'll see that he has his knapsack and his bedroll at the back. Just a wonderful, wonderful piece, a very typical costume of the Civil War, and those of you who do any studies in that will recognize it, because you might also recognize this woman, and she was the vivandière. The vivandière was, I think people don't realize today how many women followed soldiers onto the battlefields, and they were mostly providing food for them, providing nursing services, and the vivandière was one of the first of the nursing services in the Civil War. This one is done as a sewing companion. The sewing companion was designed as a doll that would have the various sewing tools that a woman used, and so presumably she's sitting in her parlor, she's doing her sewing, her stitching, and she has this doll which is perhaps a thought of her man who was in the Civil War at the time of the doll, and it's wearing the costume of the vivandière who brought sustenance and care to the soldiers, and having all of these little accoutrements, such as this drum, which actually is hollow and was designed to hold a spool of thread, and would have the scissors attached to there. And many of them had various other accessories, such as thimbles or needles and that type of thing. So the sewing companion, actually one of the women's magazines of the time period had a pattern or design in there for showing you how to costume your own vivandière doll to keep you company while your man was away. This little girl, I love her. I tend to love fortune-telling dolls anyway. I think they're just wonderful, but I've never seen one this little. Take a look at her. Is that a fabulous doll? Wonderful. The porcelain itself is wonderful, pink-tinted porcelain, but she is attached to her skirt with, I certainly haven't counted them, but they look like several hundred folded leaves with fortunes on them. And let's just open one. Oh, don't fall over, dear. And it is a little printed message, and it is in German, English, and French. So designed for three. Fair and lovely is your charm, but your beauty brings us harm. Oh my gosh. Well, I think you should buy her anyway. And she's on her original little stand. That's a wonderful, wonderful, rare, miniature fortune-telling doll. Now, also on here, we have several peddler dolls in this auction, and I found this to be the most unusual. This is also the Zuwab Peddler, and look at him. He is great. He has his sculpted mustache and goatee, which is so, so unusual, and he's holding his tray full of early accessories, bone, little books, look at this whole thing right here of little tiny colorful beads. Just grand, grand pieces, and most of them really designed for the lady, for her parlor or her dressing or just her book to sit and relax and read about. And I'll show you the back of him as well. It's a great piece.